Okay, so we're moving on to our main game that me and Phoenix at least have been playing. Have you guys? I mean, I find it hard to believe you haven't heard anything about it, but have you guys heard anything about Hi-Fi Rush?
I haven't. This is the first time I'm hearing about it.
I
I
saw
find
it
it hard to
like,
believe, man. Everyone's been talking about it for since
I've
that
been under a
Xbox One.
yeah,
rock.
I saw it. I downloaded it. I've been meaning to play it, and I just haven't turned on my Xbox.
Well, Phoenix, since I talked before, you want to start explaining how you
Do it.
feel about it?
Sure. I mean, I'll give the premise of it
Did you
first.
get to finish it? You finished the entire game?
Yeah, I finished
Because I'm like
it
in the
this
last
morning.
2 to 3 hours. Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
super fun.
So it's a rhythm action game where everything you do is on the beat essentially. So like as you walk, you're stepping to the beat. Things in the environment are to the beat. You attack to the beat.
1440 is too much. Way too much.
Oh,
1080.
yeah, you shouldn't be streaming much if you're also streaming the
Yeah.
podcast. It's gonna kill it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
But anyways, yeah. So it's a rhythm-based action game, and the big thing I think that really kind of caught people off guard is just the aesthetic of it. It's like super cartoony, cell shaded, and it comes from the developers who did the Evil Within. So like it's a really contrasting difference in not only gameplay styles but art direction. So it was cool. It was also shadow dropped. So during that Xbox Direct that we're going to talk about in a little bit, they just announced that hey, we've been working on this surprise game and it's available now. Woo! So.
Nice.
So, I mean, I enjoyed it. I kind of want to hear what Chaz thinks about it first, because I've already finished it, so I don't want my ending feeling to really bias you by any means. So, tell me what you think about it as far as what you played so far, and then I'll kind of tell you where I'm going on it.
I'm loving it. I think it's great. I struggle to think of any part of it that I dislike. I would say maybe one thing that I have a problem with, like I'm just choosing something to talk about. That's like one of the few negatives I have. But for me, I feel like in certain portions when you're not in combat, it feels slow. And I understand that that's for a reason. I think his run is supposed to be to the move to the to the beat of the music that's happening, but he still feels like he moves a little bit slow. Like I would kind of was hoping for like a sprint or something. You know what I mean? But there's no like.
Yeah, no, that is one of
It
my
seems
big issues
intentional,
too.
obviously. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, to kind of add to that, so like I said, every step you take, you move to the beat. Here's the one of the issues I had with the game. I'm a big music guy, so I love rhythm games in general. But the game beat doesn't really change much. Like throughout the entire game, you've got the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. The tempo doesn't really seem like it ever picks up or slows down. So just saying that is your step the entire game. Step, 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 step. Never gets faster, never gets slower, and the default tempo or quote unquote speed is not really quick enough for my liking as far as like general traversal, which there's a lot of in this game. I was kind of surprised. I thought this game was to be a little more combat driven. Granted, there is a lot of combat, but there's also a lot of exploring, finding collectibles, that kind of thing, and that for me dragged a lot with just that kind of slower walking or stepping pace. So I do wish they would have done a little more with that. Like if you get to an intense section, the tempo picks up or something, so you run faster. That would have been neat.
Oh, totally. Sorry. I was
He's
switch back
blind.
over.
Kind of the same
Yeah.
ends too. So I mean, I did enjoy, or I enjoyed the game. I'm still enjoying the game. I wish they would have done more though with the whole fact of everything is tied to a rhythm. Like, as I said, everything is tied to just a standard 4/4 tempo. They do add different stuff where it's like trying to mess around with the offbeats and whatnot, so it does get a little more syncopated. It's still 4/4. They never try to go for like any 3/4 timings or 6/8 or something, just kind of throw it up a little bit or increase the BPMs at all. And I get why they wanted to try to probably make a very consistent feel to the combat, so keeping it at kind of a structured tempo was probably intentional, but I wish they would have done a little more to kind of push that some. I think it would have helped the flow or kind of the pacing moving around a little bit and just make it a little more interesting. But
Yeah, I mean, I would say probably I mean, kind of branching off of that, I would say like all of the praise kind of being thrown upon it and everything. I feel like in some ways it's a little bit much. Like I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's a 10," but I wouldn't call it a 10. I would say for me, as of right now, it's probably like an 8 or a 9-ish. 9 if on a good day, but probably 8 or 9. I just think that Xbox has been in such of a rut in terms of like major games that they have that are exclusive, that like the first game they get where everyone seems to be enjoying it, you know what I mean? It feels like people are overcompensating just
Well,
a
I think
little
it's
bit.
part of that, and it's also part of it just kind of came out of nowhere. Like no one had any built-up expectations about it, good or bad. It just dropped out of nowhere. It was this fairly refreshing style of game. Like, I mean, every game nowadays, is dark and broody and gray and brown, and this is a very colorful, action-oriented game with, to be fair, some really good dialogue, some really good interactions between the characters. The animation is top-notch, so it's really fun to look at and engage with. And then, it's a different style of game, a rhythm-based action game. We don't see stuff like that too often, so it's a solid game. I don't want to take that away from it by any means. I think once again it's just kind of recency hype more than anything else, and people are kind of all jumping on, oh, this is a 10 or whatnot. I think the game, over the next couple of months, as people spend a little more time with it, will settle into a slightly, I don't know, not quite as high tiered ranking, but it's a solid game. I enjoyed it. The ending, I think, of the game is a lot better. Like the second half, a lot better than the first half. The first half to me was really slow because the game kind of trickles, giving you new techniques and giving you new movement capabilities.
I've enjoyed the first half a little more so far, but I think it's just because I feel like
I felt limited.
Well, I agree with you in terms of the gameplay, but I think in terms of like the cutscenes and the story, the humor, I feel like a lot of that is better in the first half. But I could see where you're coming from with the gameplay improving in the second half.
Yeah, maybe the story and banter and dialogue, that's good throughout. I mean, you could say there's lulls in certain areas, but the gameplay is real slow at first, probably because they're trying to introduce people who aren't really good at rhythm games to this rhythm structure. But I think for those who acclimate to rhythm games a little more quickly, you feel kind of restrained. The game doesn't let you block right off the bat. It doesn't let you dodge right off the bat. Like, these are things you learn 3-4 levels into the game, and I'm like, they could have showed me that way earlier and I would have had a lot more fun. So by the time you unlock your basic moveset, it's like a third to halfway through the game. And I feel like I just could have, utilized those techniques a little more and got more enjoyment out of it. But once it does pick up, it's solid. I felt like the levels were pretty long, maybe a little too long. And there's some I don't know, I want to say stretched out sections. I think I could have played longer sessions with that kind of one more level feeling if they weren't quite as long. Each level is almost an hour long. There's 12 levels or so, not a terribly long game, but if you're trying to a quick midnight, or not midnight, but late night session, it's hard to want to play one more level knowing it's at least an hour more of commitment. So that was my issue with the length.
What do you think about the main characters? Are they the new Xbox mascots that some people are talking about them being? I don't think so, but I do think they are this could be a big franchise for Xbox. I definitely think
I don't think this will be a franchise. This really? Feels like a one and done to me.
A one-off.
This reminds me. This game is a mix of
Catherine.
No, this is more of a Sunset Overdrive.
I was about to say Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah,
and everyone thought that was going to be a staple new IP. And
part of that was the whole issue with Insomniac. Insomniac created Sunset Overdrive, and then Sony pretty much locked them in making Spider-Man until they die. So that, I think, is part of the issue there. But I don't see this being a sequel thing. I feel like they're going to milk this for other mediums. This is ripe for a television show, something like that. They already did that with Cuphead, but this is already done. The animation's there, the voice actors there. They could turn this to a show real quick, and I think it would do really well because the animation, the voice acting, the characters are excellent.
Since you bring up that point, there is something I mentioned on my stream, on one of my streams, that I definitely wanted to bring up. After seeing some of the recent Dragon Ball movies and the TV show, how does this game look so much better than some of those? I'm just bringing Dragon Ball because that's what I've tried watching to an extent in certain areas. How does this art style it just dwarfs it? It makes it look so much better.
I don't know. I love the art style of Kakarot. I've been playing Kakarot too lately, and I
don't know about the newer game. I'm talking about just the shows and the recent movies.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the games.
I think this looks way better than some of those.
Yeah, the animation, I don't know. It's hard to define it because technically they're doing the same type of style. You're talking about the new the DBS movies. The animation just fell off in the movies a little bit. And part of it, Japanese animation, the quality jumps up and down because we know those animators right now are under a lot of strain. There's hiring shortages and whatnot, so I think getting quality animation consistently, even a movie, can be tricky from Japanese developers. So that would be my kind of thought process there, why maybe the Dragon Ball movie didn't look as good. But I don't know. I mean, I think this style can look really good. I mean, this game, I think, is kind of a testament to that. So it's not that I'm necessarily opposed to Dragon Ball using this kind of style in the future. They just got to spend more time polishing up the animation so it doesn't look kind of janky. But this game did really well at it. There were actually parts in this game where it switched from the 3D cell style to an actual 2D animation and cutscenes. It took me a moment to even tell it happened. So I think that's a real testament to how good the 3D cell shading looks, that it looks like 2D animation 99% of the time.
No, I agree. So I don't know. I think it's fair to say I don't think the ending's probably gonna affect. I feel like I've enjoyed the experience a lot up to this point. So if the ending's good, like you said, fantastic. You know, I'm trying to say I don't know if I feel like I need to talk more about it.
No, that's fair. No, this is a solid game. It's not a perfect game. There's definitely things.
I mean, on the
that
next
could be
podcast, I don't know
on
if
it.
I need to come back and say, "Oh, the ending was good," like Phoenix said. Like I don't know what else I have to add.
The combat just picks up a lot towards the end, which I enjoyed. But no, this is a good game. This is Sunset Overdrive meets Scott Pilgrim the movie. So if either of those things checks a box off for you, this is going to be a fun time. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
This kind of reminds me a little bit of like the style of Elite Beat Agents. The more I look at it, it's like just fast pace. Yeah, it's a 3DS game.
Yeah, actually, I just found that at a flea market for like $2 the other day.
It is a fantastic game, a fantastic game. But it's a lot of like swipe and touch, touch, smash and swipe, and a lot of like the whole thing with those little rings and stuff. They use all that stuff, and they also use the cell shading, a lot of it too. So it gives me that. So if I had to give comparisons, it looks like Sunset Overdrive mixed with Elite Beat Agents.
I agree with you guys, though. I think this game will probably go down as like a very memorable. Oh shoot, what's the word for
Surprise
a movie?
release.
Cult hit.
Cult classic. Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Like you were saying, Sunset Overdrive, maybe like Asuda's Wrath. Like you guys remember Asuda's Wrath?
It's a solid game. Like Sunset Overdrive, I thought was a really fun time, but it was just kind of a one and done thing, and then just kind of faded off. But solid game. So this is great to see in Xbox's library of games. I can't say that you should run and buy an Xbox for it or anything, but it's also on Game Pass on PC. That's actually how I played about half of it. So if you got PC,
our sponsorship.
Yeah.
Now, if only Microsoft would get on. Maybe making a Smash Bros. Like game sometime. You can add him in there.
There's so many of those clones.
They have so many different characters, though.
Could have him fight Master Chief.
Oh boy, another clone. That's all we need.
Okay, so that's all I had to say. I mean, I'm very much enjoying it. Sounds like Phoenix is really enjoying it. We will definitely talk about it again when we talk about the developer direct topic.
Is it on Game Pass by chance? Or
yeah,
is
it is.
It is.
Okay, I'll download that.
Plus,
I'll take a stab at it.
Plus, I think it's especially surprising. Again, talking about Tango GameWorks, which it's like all they do is make spooky games.
Yeah.
It's like what a strange. I don't know. I think they said that the guy who was behind it, this was like a passion project. So I don't know, kind of cool.
That's good. It lets the developers show that they can kind of stretch their wings a little bit, so it helps them maybe have opportunity to do some other types of games they've been wanting to do. Like I know a lot of times developers get kind of shoehorned into this is the type of game we make, and then their publishers kind of force them to keep making that game. So the fact that Microsoft kind of let them go this direction and branch out might say some cool, interesting things about where this developer could go in the future.
I think to an extent that's what they've done with Redfall. Redfall seems like a bit of a letting what's that developer? Bethesda, Arcane. Is it Arcane?
Yeah,
letting them kind of try something new, even if that
different,
may not
but
look...
it's not. Like I can see where Redfall is a mixture of there's a little bit of Dishonored in there, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's still a shooter-based kind of mechanic, so it's not that far to left field, I think, for them. Like this game is completely opposite of Tokyo, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Evil Within. This is completely opposite of that. So, but either way, we can talk about that in a little bit when we get to the direct.